Okay with everyone. And whoops, hold on. I just saw somebody else trying to get in. 1 second. It's going to be very difficult because I don't have someone to help me with admitting folks that get in late. So 1 second here as we welcome everyone. There we go. Right. Go. Mhm. Let's see. All right. I'm going to give us just a few more minutes. Susan. Susan, I can't wait to see you really soon. And I have to send you our other Bhutan notes.
Fabulous. See you soon.
Yeah, look forward to it. All righty, my beautiful souls. Yeah, we're going to have an amazing trip. I am so excited about that. I can't even begin to tell you all. Okay, let's see. Hold on for a second. Let me just make sure. I don't think I'm sharing the um, hold on 2 seconds while I see if I can make sure I can share the screen here. There we go. See if I can share the screen. Hi there. Let's see here. And I'm going to do this and this. And let me just try to play. All right. Welcome, beautiful souls. This is especially in the middle of the darkness of winter. I'm going to take you on a quick little journey, just give you a little taste of a possibility if you want to consider joining me next November. This is really a passion and a heart trip, a real journey of exploration and discovery. And any of you who've explored India, but haven't been up to Assam, or anywhere in the Northeast, I strongly encourage explorations in this area. So I want to tell you about a journey we're going to be doing next November. Assam Peoples and Ecologies of the Wild Silk of the Brahmaputra. I first want to wish you all happy holidays. This is a picture by my dear close friend Hamid Sardar up in Mongolia. We will be doing trips to Mongolia as well, if you want to join us there, as well as in Ladakh. These are a couple of our journeys we're going to have next year, and you can just put into the if you want to send in the messages there, if you're interested in receiving any of the recordings on any of the other trips, and I'm always happy to share. I have a new assistant, Chanda Magar, who can really help me because I've been traveling so much. It's been really hard to be able to get that. Now you're just going to have to excuse me. I'm going to let somebody in, and I'll be right back. Here we go. Welcome in, Sheila. And so we have Mongolia, the 9th and 19th, and that's really in central Mongolia. It's not quite as harsh and adventurous. It's more green, verdant. We're with nomads who I've lived with for over 20 years. I'm a medical anthropologist. I work with National Geographic, as does Dr. Susan Anderson, who's joining us here today. We also have the Altai Mountains, September 2nd to 12th. I just was on this journey in September, and I already can't wait to go back. The Altai is rough and rugged. It's wild, but the embroiderers and the felt makers are some of the greatest in this world, and we'll also be with the eagle hunters. In September 20th, 28th, we're going to be in Ladakh, one of my most favorite places. I was just last night at dinner with National Geographic photographer Chris Rainier, fresh back from Ladakh, hadn't been in 30, 40 years, and he can't wait to go back because it's one of the most powerful heart places. I was dreaming about it all through COVID. And then Bhutan. I literally am not even 5 days from coming fresh off the trail of Bhutan. And if anyone would like a link to that talk, please, I'll be there all spring. It's one of my heart home places. And so today we're going to talk about Assam. And I first want to share with you that if you come with us, you are helping to support our nonprofit that I started with marine biologist Tierney Tees. And it's a multimedia educational nonprofit fostering connections between plastic-free fabrics and planetary health. Few people realize 60% of all clothing today is manufactured from plastic-based fabrics. But it really doesn't have to be this way. And we at Around the World Native Fabrics, we want to celebrate the biodiverse alternatives, and we want to take you to the source and really inspire you with just the extraordinary human heritage of our textiles, and how we can create textiles that rejuvenate the soil. So, as you can see here, Tierney was so upset because she kept seeing all these microplastics in her work sites in the ocean. There are more microplastics in the ocean than there are stars in the sky right now. We are vastly overproducing. So if you want to learn more, or you want to learn even more details about our journeys, you can take a snap if you want, take a screen save. This is where you'll find all the details about our journeys in a comprehensive detail, and also a little about our work. We're very excited. I think we're looking forward in 2025. We hope to be working on a lot of grassland restoration work up in Mongolia, and we're working on some very exciting collaborations, and I'll share you a little more of that as we go on. But I want to take you on a biophilic adventure. We at Around the World Native Fabrics are really passionate about biophilic adventuring. So, what the hey is biophilia? Well, it's humans' innate tendency to connect with nature and other life forms, and it literally means a love of life. And let me just help 1 second as I'm going to let someone in here. Let's see if I can. It's not letting me do it. This is what makes it a little bit challenging when I'm trying to be three people all at once. There we go. Hopefully they were able to get in. Yes, biophilia is about the love of nature. So if you really love nature and you want to connect with nature and you want to understand how textiles connect us to nature, and you want to explore the natural history of textiles and the biodiversity of textiles and the whole context, the environment and the humans and the people that create them, come join us on some of our adventures here. Okay, let's see here. I'm having a little challenge. Okay, so come join me as we, get on your bat suits, and we're going to go for a big adventure. And this one I can share with you. I have been living in Nepal for over 40 years, and I went 2 years ago, and Assam just stole my heart. And I've only been dreaming of going back ever since. So where is Assam? It's in the far northeast corner. If you look slowly at this map here of India, do you see how there's sort of a hunk that looks separated and there to the right? Well, that is where Assam is, and it's one of the rainiest parts of all of India. So here you can see, look at Assam, because there's a lot of it's one of the most richly tribal regions of all of India, and so it's very rich in its textile heritage. Its biodiversity is extraordinary, as you can imagine, in one of historically the rainiest parts of all of Southeast Asia. We're not going there in the rainy season, though. We'll be going there in the dry season. It's also, many of you, when you think of Assam, what do people think of? A lot of people think of tea. And yes, in fact, tea makes a fantastic dye, and we will be going to have some dye, going for dye there too. So briefly, our itinerary. This is an 8-day itinerary, and we're going to be we're actually going a little bit deeper. And there's some things. This is what we call a skeleton itinerary, because we're filling in places. Ritu Raj Dewan, who's going to be one of our hosts, he's up right now with yak herders in Bhutan, and so I've been in Bhutan, so we haven't been able to fill out fully. But we're going to be in Delhi, arriving, and you'll be met by our fantastic local operators. Please remember, I've lived in Asia for almost 40 years. And so we really have heart connections with everyone we work with. And from Delhi, we'll fly up to Guwahati and we're going to visit the Seven Weaves Center. After that, we'll be going and the next day, we'll be also doing workshops and we're going to learn ourselves how to weave. We're going to explore some of the natural dyes that come from this area that are extraordinarily rich. And then we're going to get to go on a Brahmaputra river cruise to really immerse ourselves deeply in the ecosystem and biodiversity of the Brahmaputra River. And then the next day, we're going to go and visit one of the greatest female sacred divine temples in all of India, is sacred. It's for the tantric worship of the divine feminine. And after that, we will go all the way up to Kaziranga National Park to enjoy some of that rich biodiversity of animals before we have a final day to explore, to shop, and to also say goodbye to many of our good friends we have made along the way. So when we think of textiles from Assam, for many in the West, in one of the greatest pieces in the British Museum that they treasure is this exquisite Assamese silk piece from the 17th century that actually they found up in Tibet, believe it or not, but it had obviously been traded by one of the kings, Ahoms, kings of Assam, made of Erie silk. And in fact, we find ancient silks from Assam were traded to ancient Rome. We have mentions of them in the Ramayana. And so this is a very rich and ancient heritage of silk. We'll start, as I mentioned, in Delhi. This is the Haveli and Haz Khas. It's like a home away from home. Before we're going to meet. So, my one question is, can a piece of cloth conserve biodiversity, empower indigenous communities, and bring economic freedom? That is the question asked by a very close colleague, respected friend, a biologist, conservationist who comes to textiles first as a biologist and conservationist. And this is Rituraj Dewan. And he was my host when I first went to Assam, and he will be helping us along our journey. The reason he can't join us here today, unfortunately, as I mentioned, is because he is up right now with the Leah communities, the highlands of Bhutan, where we have coordinated. And look at that spectacular rug that he has created. It's made of yak hair, but it was designed in Assam. And they've come up with a new collaboration around the world. Native Fabrics, we believe in regional collaborations, especially in natural fibers. And so they've come up with a brand called Rinoi. Ri means mountain in Bhutanese, and Noi means river, meaning the Brahmaputra. So the marriage of the river and mountains as we're linking communities and ecosystems. And here is Ritu Raj just a month ago up at the Yak Highland Festival with the king of Bhutan himself showing him. And the king himself is extremely excited about our project as we're working to develop and communities and their resources and to start to expand and link to communities. So indigenous communities, biodiversity, and skill-based. This is what is so important to Seven Weaves, and we will be welcomed in as part of the family to learn from them, to learn about natural dye, to learn about weave, and we will also be able to experience some of their exquisite and extraordinary. This is going to be, for example, one of our teachers, and we're going to also learn about the extraordinary biology and just the awesomeness of the wild silk moths of the Brahmaputra. And this here, what you're looking at, is the Erie silk, Racenia communis. And the Raba community of the Lower Ghat Forest are many of the caretakers of this extraordinary region and have been their in intimate relationship with, I never really thought that one could learn to love a silkworm in the same way one loves to learn one's cattle or one's goats or one's dogs or one's pets. But I have experienced that, and we will experience that biophilic, profound relationship as we will learn profoundly about the deep life cycles of these extraordinary moths that were wild and are very unique because if you look closely, they have very unique, the shape of their cocoons is extraordinarily unique. We're going to meet different farmers who have raised them and see the tiniest of seeds from which they come from. But if you look closely, they are very unique. They're called ahimsa silk. Why? Because their cocoons have little openings at the end so that you actually don't need to boil and kill them to create silk. The filaments are very tiny, so they have to be it's very difficult. You have to create a fiber out of them, but the Raba peoples of the lower God forests have been doing that from earliest times. And here you see and we're going to be working with spectacular, these will be our teachers there at the Seven Weaves Cooperatives, working with, can you see, we're making the exquisite dyes, the indigo dye. It's a unique form of indigo that's not as common as indigo fera that we often see. And we're going to be learning and dyeing along with the women there. We're going to have an extraordinarily special time learning from, making from tea leaves onwards. We also will have a chance to try learning the loom itself and learning some of the traditional patterns and the traditional forms of weaving. But the Erie silk is not the only silk moth you find in Assam. This is the muga, and the muga silk is an extraordinary, it actually makes now you can see how they put the little tiny seeds to begin its life on these korikas, they're called here. And then they are placed high up in trees. And we're going to learn all about, we think of Bombax mori that only eats the mulberry, but we're going to see of the diversity from castor trees onwards, that these different varieties of wild silk and the symbiosis not of humans alone with humans to these animals, but these species also to the plants that they feed upon. So we're going to learn in depth about that. And this is some of the dyeing of the teakwood here. And this is some of the what they gather them upon. And if we're lucky, we might even get a chance to go to what I call the wild silk moth brothels. It was really truly the highlight of my last trip. Excuse me. And you can see here, we came upon these muga silk that had been tied together for mating sometimes and for producing their spawn. And we'll meet some of the people that know these amazing arts of how do you raise them and the great challenges they're facing right now with climate change as it heats up and these very delicate creatures are not as happy in these as it's heating up and how geneticists are trying to work. How? Because really, we will soon learn to respect the ancient traditions of Assamese people that have been caring for this animal, this species, for so many thousands of years, making the silk, and how they're now learning and how they're learning to adapt. It's very interesting and very exciting, as well as the help that is required. We're going to learn about the life cycles of the Muga silk and learn about the people who take care of them. We're going to learn about how it's processed. We're going to learn some of the science of the differences in the different silk fibers and what makes them so unique. We also will have a chance to go to Kamakya, as I mentioned, which is one of the greatest female sites of female divinity for tantric worshipers particularly, and all of Assam. And it's an extraordinary for anyone who's interested in the divine feminine in India. It's one of the most powerful sites there. We will also, near the end of our trip, we will get the chance to go on the Brahmaputra and explore the incredible ecological system along its edges as we learn and we relax on this 1,800-mile river, which is really like the Nile of Asia in terms of its rich civilizations that have grown up on its banks, as well as the rich ecological diversity. And then we will go up to Kazaranga, where the diversity of animals, and you might be wondering what that middle animal is. That's a biturunga. They've just discovered. If we saw that, we would be very lucky. It's very rare. And yet, just to give you the inspiration that in some of these raw, wild ecosystems, even with the large populations of people, we are discovering species we didn't even know existed, and we're still doing that. So I find that very comforting and very exciting. So we'll be with some extraordinary naturalists, and we're going to be meeting with some of the very greatest naturalists in all of Assam that'll help us. Ritu Raj, for example, has been working a lot with the wild elephant populations. And as many people, we're seeing a return of incredible wildlife populations throughout Asia, where I am in Nepal and in Bhutan, we're seeing tigers and snow leopards. But with it, we're also seeing more human-animal conflict with habitat loss. So we'll learn a lot more about what's going on for the keeping the corridors safe, especially for the wild elephants of South Asia, and understanding their incredible story and we'll also be exploring the rich biodiversity of orchids, just because that happens to be right nearby as we head on our way. So, on our very last day, we'll go to Salgachi, often known as the Manchester of Asia. There's incredible amounts of extraordinary textiles being woven there, including Muga silk. And we're going to see, all from the very beginning of the moths coming in and giving birth, all the way to the finished woven silk products. So, if you are interested in joining me in learning about this incredible and very, very inspiring chance, please come and join me. And that's all I wanted to share. And I just want to open it up if anyone has any questions.
Yeah.
Any questions? Any questions? Well, I hope you'll consider joining us, and I hope that you'll consider following us on Around the World in 80 Fabrics as we continue our journeys. We have an incredible collection, and please share with us your stories. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your passions are for textiles. What is your most treasured textiles, and why? And what is the biodiversity they come from? What is the natural history from which they arise? And if you're interested in going a lot deeper with us here in Assam, please consider joining us. I think it's going to be an extraordinary trip. So I wish you all the most happiest of holidays. And let me know, please message me if you would like to have any recordings of any of our past trip to learn a little bit more. And keep up your passions, not only for textiles. And I hope with this holiday season, you will mend or you will re-gift or you will consider ways of just enjoying good quality time with family and friends in the true spirit of what holiday gatherings are about. And I want you to look at some of the rich textiles that are a part of your festival and time period. So, on that, I wish you all happy holidays and happy equinox, and hope to see you again. And please do not be shy to send me any questions if you have any questions. And I hope I'll see you out on the road. All the best and more. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Take care. All the best to you all on this cold night.